How's it going, guys? I'm John Vlieger with Shooter's Connection, and today I want to talk with you about 140mm magazines for limited optics, carry optics, and etc. in USPSA or similar divisions. So we have some extended magazines here in front of us, as well as a Canik steel frame pistol, and we're going to go through putting one together, as well as talking about some of the quirks you might want to be on the lookout for when you're assembling a magazine like this. For reference, I'm a 4-division USPSA Grandmaster in open, limited, single stack, and carry optics. I'm a top 5 finisher at different nationals over the past year or two, and I'd like to help bring some of what I've seen to you guys to help fill in some of the gaps with the knowledge that's out there regarding these pieces of equipment. So that being said, let's bring the camera in, take a closer look at what we have in front of us here on the table, and go through the assembly process and talk about that as we go. Let's bring it in. All right, what we have in front of us here from this side to this side, we have a USPSA mag gauge. We have a brand new and a well-used Rune Tactical spring and follower kit. We have a Canik steel frame arrival here with some lock grips on it and a HoloSun 509T, a Henning 140mm extension. This is the TP9 version. A OEM Canik tube, a complete Canik magazine with extension. These are both Taylor Freelance extensions with Rune Tactical spring and follower in this one. This one is empty. And of course, the OEM guts from this tube are sitting right over here. We're not going to need this for the discussion. This is the first thing that gets ripped out of most magazines to leave you with the tube and extension and spring and follower of your choice. So first thing I want to talk about is compatibility. Whenever you're dealing with extensions, and especially with magwells, to include the factory Canik magwell, you need to be worried, or at least take into account, compatibility. So this extension fits in just fine, it locks in and it drops free, but we may run into issues depending on, with Canik in particular, there have been some compatibility concerns regarding different extensions and the steel frames in particular. So be cognizant of that, look into it, and make sure that whatever you're using is going to be reliable for you on the range. So that being said, once you figured out what base pad you want to use and such, we're going to start with a factory tube, usually the best option, although aftermarket tubes like MBX or you name it, manufacturers are out there for their tubes. Check the compatibility of that. But the 3 main components are the tube, the extension, and the spring and follower. These are the combos we have with us today. So to assemble this tube, I'm going to take my brand new Rune Tactical follower and spring, and I'm going to install it in the magazine tube. Real quick, you might notice the difference in length here between a well-used spring and follower and a brand new one. So when we talk about changing out springs and followers, this is what we're talking about. With use, especially with your max capacity style springs and followers, they will shorten over time to the point that you're not getting much tension on the stack. So be aware of that. And actually, let me throw this one in there first to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So we have a much shorter OAL. We're going to compress this and install our Henning extension. These I really like because of the spring-loaded detent here. Although the Taylor Freelances are equally easy to take on and off, but they do require an Allen wrench, and they look a little different. So I'm going to slide my extension over the tube. There we go. And I'm going to show you kind of my little trick I use to tell if it's time to replace spring and follower or not. I put one mag in here, and I can push down. You can see it's kind of squishy, and I'm going to do this and see if I can get the round to fall out with just flicking it. This is kind of my homegrown test. It's not scientific or anything, but it's kind of your first sign that replacing the spring might be in your best interest. So let's take this extension off, and we're going to go with the brand new spring and follower. Come on, you can play nice. There we go. Now, whenever you're dealing with extensions, we want to talk about making sure you use like the right ones to go together. So a factory tube and a Henning extension, good combos. We know from experience they work together, but we can check for any burrs or lip on the inside of the extension. Make sure that the follower isn't going to catch on anything. This applies mainly to like polymer mags like Glock. They tend to have flashing at the base of the tube that can cause issues with the follower transitioning from the tube to the extension. So we're going to inspect, we're going to look, make sure we don't have any burrs or anything. We're rocking and rolling just fine here. We can then go to the installation. Most extensions don't have the use of a base plate or a floor plate like the OEM does. We see this little floor plate. That is not used with the majority of extensions, as the spring sits in the pocket down here and any floor plate would cause a hang up. So I like to compress the spring about halfway, hook the extension over, and I'm going to slide. Good to wear iPro when you do this. Slide over, make sure that everything is locked in. We're not getting any hang-ups or anything with the pad. It's locked on there solidly, and then we could load to capacity and make sure that we are getting the follower going down through the length of the tube, up and out just fine. So once again, doing that little test with a brand new unit, I can't get it to move at all with the flick test with one round on there. So that tells me we have enough tension here at the top of the tower, and we should be good to go. Next step is I'm going to check my assembled mag in a gauge. If you don't have one, that's fine. Your local club, someone's bound to have one, and we're going to check to make sure we're legal. So using the 140 millimeter side, I'm going to push it down till this part of the tube is making contact with this part of the gauge, and I am all the way flush at one end. We can see here that we still have a little bit of room to go, and we're not running afoul of that gauge just yet. So this mag is legal for competition in limited optics, open carry optics, and limited. So we're good there. We've checked with the gauge. This is where a big hang up comes up with new shooters and trying to put parts together they found on the internet. If you're over the gauge limit, it's not going to be that big of a deal at a local match, depending. But at a major event where they gauge your mags, it could shove you into open division, or if you're already in open, you end up shooting for no score, and no one wants that. And lastly, we're going to check compatibility with our firearm. So that's not wanting to drop free sideways. Let's put a round in there, and it just shoots right out. Press that button, and we're good. And chamber is just fine. Eject that round. No hang-ups, nothing going on with the that mag extension and that firearm. So by all accounts, this mag appears to be ready to go. The real test, though, is going to the range, putting some rounds through it, and making sure that it feeds from completely full all the way to empty and kicks out of the pistol just fine, regardless of what's going on. So the long story short, things we're going to look out for: compatibility with our components and our firearm. We're going to be on the lookout to make sure it meets the gauge. We don't have mags that are too long. And we're going to be on the lookout for compatibility of the individual parts together to make sure that they seamlessly transition through each part of the magazine to deliver the ammunition to the pistol chamber the same every time. So I like to change out my springs once a year, maybe twice a year, depending if it's a really heavy practice session year. And my followers I change out every year to year and a half, once again, depending on how much use I'm getting out of them. All that being said, check us out online, shootersconnection.com. We carry almost everything that you see here, and we also have experienced members like myself on staff that'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. So I hope this information has been helpful, and as always, we hope to see you on the range.